Okay, welcome to everyone. My name is Melissa Andrade, and I'm the Marketing Director here at DATAMYTE. We're all very excited to have you join us today. If you're not familiar with DATAMYTE, we are a global organization that's been in operation for almost 50 years, specializing in software and hardware solutions and quality management. This includes data collection, SPC, quality planning, residual torque, and gauge and tool management. Today marks a special day for DATAMYTE as we officially launch our digital clipboard. We've been busy since spring with several different product launches. In May, we launched our DATAMYTE Revolution, the latest generation in a long series of data collectors. And last month, we launched Escalate software. These products and their capabilities have opened up a whole world of new possibilities around data collection and workflow automation to promote a closed loop quality management process. In today's webinar, we'll cover many topics, including the downfalls of paper checklist processes. We'll explore tough problems that our customers face along with real solutions. Then we'll talk to the DATAMYTE Revolution Quality Management System. We'll introduce the ins and outs of digital clipboard and Escalate, and then we'll summarize benefits and tell you a little bit about how easy it is to get started on digital clipboard. Today we'll have a 45-minute presentation given by two of our most senior sales executives, Jim Dallas and Jerry Zeglin. Together they have over 45 years of experience with our DATAMYTE solutions. So just a few housekeeping items. You are muted during the event. If you have questions, please send those in through the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll try to get to all the questions, but if we don't, we will have a solution expert reach out to you afterwards. We'll also have a few polling questions, so please watch for those. The webinar is recorded and you will receive a link to it afterwards. And at this time, we'll get this started and turn the presentation over to Jim Dallas.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time and consideration. My name is Jim Dallas, and as Melissa mentioned, I am a regional sales manager here at DATAMYTE. And I'd like to start out this morning talking to you a little bit about the existing paper checklist and clipboard system that many of you may have in place at your organization. Industry research shows that 36% of companies use paper checklists and clipboards for their processes daily, and that 50% of companies use them at least occasionally. Why? Because they're easy and quick to use, easy and quick to change, easy and quick to share, and they're portable. However, they do have some pretty major drawbacks as well. Next slide, please. Data collected on paper checklists is very rarely ever used or even looked at again by anyone else after it's collected. It's kind of collected for the sake of collecting it, but it's rarely used to improve processes or production. Paper checklists also create another data silo because it isn't stored in your database along with your other variable data. So now you have yet another isolated area where data is stored and not shared with other systems. Paper checklists also offer low data integrity. Paper data is highly vulnerable to the elements and to human influence over the data. Paper data can be easily damaged, destroyed, or lost. Bad handwriting, poor eyesight, and fat fingering can all cause operators to incorrectly record or transcribe data on paper, resulting in poor data integrity. Paper checklists also offer low traceability. Paper data makes it difficult to track and, more importantly, verify who recorded the data, when they recorded it, why they recorded it, and how they recorded it. Paper checklists are not very sanitary or green. They offer high risk of virus spread because they are difficult to disinfect before being passed to another person. They're also not very eco-friendly and thus do not fit in with the green initiatives of many companies today. Paper checklists are also labor-intensive and time-consuming for the operator. The process for recording data on paper is slow and laborious for most operators. Paper checklists can also be expensive to manage. In this day and age, if you're using a paper checklist to collect your data, it's probably not very efficient or effective, and there's definitely a better way to do it. Next slide, please. If your company is like most companies today, your process for collecting attribute data or non-variable data on paper checklists probably looks something like this example pictured here. At many companies, attribute data is collected with a paper checklist on a wooden clipboard. When the paper checklist is completed, it's put into a binder. When that binder is full, it's put into a file cabinet. When that file cabinet is full, it's put into a basement storage area. And when the basement storage area is full, they call Iron Mountain to come out and haul their old data away for destruction. This common process costs your organization money in terms of labor, materials, and storage. However, the real cost of this process is missed opportunities because data is being collected just for the sake of collecting it, and no one is using that data to improve the quality of their products. Companies using this process are missing opportunities to reduce or avoid costs stemming from product waste, product rework, product scrap, and labor. And more importantly, they're missing opportunities for product improvement. Next slide, please. The old adage that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure is especially true in the quality world today. The chart shown here on the right basically illustrates that the cost of correcting a product quality issue increases over time. As more time passes before you catch the issue, the cost of fixing that issue increases exponentially. Some industry research indicates that the cost for correcting a quality issue could increase as much as 10 times for each stage in the product production lifecycle. For example, if it costs $1 to fix an issue on the line as it occurs, then it could cost $10 to fix that issue if it isn't caught until the end of line inspection. And it could cost $100 if it isn't caught until it reaches the post-production inspection yard or holding area. And it could cost $1,000 if it makes it to the dealer or point of sale. And it could cost $10,000 if it makes it to the customer. As you can see, correcting an issue gets more expensive the closer the product gets to the customer's hands. Catching a quality issue sooner as it's happening can help you to avoid scrap costs, product recalls, product warranty claims, and even potential lawsuits, which helps you protect your brand reputation and your overall quality ratings. Implementing effective preventative measures in your quality process can help you to reduce costs in terms of product waste, product rework, product scrap, and labor. And now I'll turn the presentation back over to Melissa for our first audience polling question.
Thanks, Jim. And our first polling question is, what does your company do with the information collected in audits? Launch the poll. And we'll give you a couple seconds here to vote. Get your opinion on this. And we'll work on closing the poll in about 5 seconds. We'll close the poll and share the results. So we have 31% that are archiving it for future reference, 28% manually enter it into a spreadsheet for simple analysis, 15% manually upload it into another system, and 22% automatically uploaded into a database system for analysis, and 4% other. Thanks so much for voting. Appreciate your opinion, and I will turn it back over to, I'm going to turn it over to Jerry Zeiglin.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you everybody for being on today. Appreciate your time. I know your time's valuable, so hopefully you can learn something today and we can have conversations in the future. This, for most of you that have been involved in some Six Sigma training and stuff, you'll notice that this is not something we designed. This is a closed loop action oriented process, but it is something out of the Six Sigma strategy and philosophy. So what I'm going to touch a little bit just on this is really starting at the top on the workflow. I've got several examples of situations where customers are experiencing problems, and normally they point a lot to their workflow and how they're organizing their data, how they're collecting their data, how they're creating a test plan, and how they're auditing that data. As we move through this circle, you know, when you are collecting data, you need to make sure that data is relevant. It's in a single system, and you have a complete view of that information. So as we collect data, we're building plans to make sure that we're satisfying those requirements. As the data is collected, you know, there's a communication capability within systems to escalate problems and provide timely resolution to issues. So in the audit and finding communication area, you need to make sure that your communication is good. As you dig deeper into the data, you want to be able to dig deep and analyze data over time and look at it in different ways and under different conditions. And then at some point you get into the looking at the specifications and the information and how that feedback is used to improve the process. And once you have improvement in place, you can feed that back to the process and workflow. So it's a constant circle, and really, you know, the goal is to have perfect parts every time, but we all know that that's not possible. But the more you focus on these 5 options within this action-oriented process, the better you'll be. Next, please. So what I've got going, these are actually things Jim and I and others that have been out in the field for a while have heard a lot. And these, so really this is like, the issue is we're obligated to collect data, but we don't do anything with it. So the first question I always ask is, I mean, why even collect data? But let's just focus on the workflow of what needs to happen here. And if you have requirements for data integrity, data traceability, you really need to have that system the data in one common database, one area, so that you can actually control that information. So the workflow and the way you're collecting it is it's very important in these type of situations. Next. The next issue that we have is, how do we validate that my data is good and consistent? So if you're looking at this particular one, it's got a clipboard in it. I think what you need to focus on, making sure that the data collection sequences and the workflow meet the requirements of the application, and that workflow is easy and understandable for the individuals that are collecting the data. Because if it's difficult for them to collect it, it's going to be complicated for you to analyze and do anything with the data. Next, please. How do I validate? Oops, sorry, it's the same one. Sometimes we don't catch defects until the product has left the assembly floor. Again, we go back to, you know, the process and workflow. You've got a problem here. You know, you've got to collect your data in a meaningful fashion. You got to collect it on time. You got to be able to be alerted to a problem, and hopefully that you can have alerts in more than one location in the facility, or one way you react to information, so that you can close this loop and make sure that this doesn't happen. Obviously, if product leaves the manufacturing floor, it has value, and if you're scrapping it or reworking it at that point, it's very expensive for an organization to maintain that practice. Next, please. We would like, excuse me, we would like to make our audit inspection process more automated with fewer people involved. Again, this is an example of workflow. How do you optimize those workflows? What information is critical? What do you have to have? How do you collect that information quick? And how do you react to that data? And how do you make sure that people are looking at the data? All key factors in making sure that you've minimized the number of people involved, and make sure those people that are involved are working on things that actually matter. Next. It's difficult to monitor and visualize missed inspections or tracking issues over time. So when I look at this one, I think of a lot of things, but I think really the key to this is communication, reporting of information, getting information to the right people, escalation capabilities, workflow. It's all kind of a little bit the same as some of the others, but there's just key elements of each one of these that's a little bit different. And this one, I think, it's just their ability to react to issues, and there's, that's the key here. And if we can give them a tool that can react to issues quicker and more efficiently, that should help them improve their processes. Next, please. Third party, we currently hired a third party to do some of our audits and would like to bring that back in-house. I would closely look at how they're doing their audits. Is it on paper? Is it how are they doing that? And then I would just look at their processes and improve on their processes. We have tools that we can help make sure that you're collecting, visual data, functional data, anything that needs to be collected in those areas. You just need to make sure you've got a process in place to collect it and to react to it and to report it out to the key people that matter in your organization. And you should have successful time getting that work back in the factory. Next, please. Once observed, the truth is obvious. I've always liked this, but the one thing I'll add to this is that, really without data, is the truth obvious? So we're talking about data collection, we're talking about workflow managers, we're talking about workflows and data collection. It's all about the collecting the data so that truth can become more obvious, and that truth can be used to solve problems, and that truth can be used to continue to improve processes. Next, please. Some of the keys in this particular slide is really they're all key points, but if you look at a common centralized database for data integrity and data traceability, very important. We all have lots of silos of information, starting with email, starting with Excel, starting with homegrown systems. All this stuff is out there. The information's available, but is it in a way that you can use it? And can you make that process simple to use and simple to react to? So that's really the kind of key points of this slide. Next, please.
Thanks, Jerry, for that great overview of the problems and solutions. This time we have our second polling question. What are your team's greatest challenges around audits and inspections? I'm going to launch the poll. Give you a few seconds to vote to answer. You can answer one or more of the following options. And wrap it up in about 5 seconds. And we'll close the poll and share the results. So we have 51% say that the biggest challenge is time consuming or laborious, 40% challenges with data traceability or integrity, 36% difficulty analyzing and reporting data, 6% it's expensive, we pay a third party or consumes valuable internal resources, and 10% other. Thank you very much for voting. And at this time, I will turn the presentation back to Jim Dallas.
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks, Jerry. So now that we've identified what the challenges and issues are with traditional paper checklists, and now that we've identified what the truths are behind what an ideal solution would look like for those challenges, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how DATAMYTE has solved those challenges and issues. Digital Clipboard eliminates paper processes and automates your audit processes by allowing you to digitize your current paper checklists to get them off of paper and onto our new Revolution data collector, or other mobile devices like tablets, laptops, and phones. It also allows you to customize your workflows and campaigns to your own specific data collection needs, as it offers customizable checklists and audits tailored to specific customer needs. Digital Clipboard is more than just a one-size-fits-all standard form. Digital Clipboard will provide your operators with immediate feedback on collected data to let them know if data is in spec or out of spec, and if cause and corrective action need to be assigned. Digital Clipboard also improves your data integrity by eliminating most human influence on the collected data. And it also improves your traceability by allowing you to quickly and easily track and verify who recorded the data, when they recorded it, why they recorded it, and how they recorded it. This is all possible because your collected data is stored in a centralized data metrics database. Next slide, please. The DATAMYTE Revolution is the perfect tool to run our digital clipboard software on, because it offers universal connectivity to all types of data collection devices. The Revolution connects to over 5,600 different types of gauges and sensors from all current gauge manufacturers, including digital hand gauges, torque wrenches, and even scales. And it allows you to connect to all of these devices through both wired cable connections or through the use of wireless connections. The Revolution also offers your operators many time and labor saving features, like a new, larger, and easier to use touchscreen, a new, easy to use Google-like search window for searching on data collection route setups and characteristics, an improved internal barcode scanner for scanning both 1D and 2D barcodes as well as RFID, a new internal high definition camera for capturing visual attribute data, and new and improved gauge synchronization to help ensure that only the correct gauge is used for each measurement. And as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, the new Revolution will also run our new digital clipboard software to allow our customers to eliminate their current paper checklists and paper audit processes while also automating those processes. Not to mention also allowing our customers to store this collected attribute data in their centralized data metrics database, which allows them to analyze and report this data so that they can actually do something with it. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard allows you to take your current static paper checklists and convert them to intelligent, dynamic electronic checklists. The image on the left side of the screen is an example of a traditional static paper checklist. Notice how little room there is in each section for the operator to enter data. We have all probably experienced the pain of being asked to enter 20 characters of data into a box the size of only 5 characters of data. It's frustrating to say the least, but it's probably even more frustrating for the person who has to read those 20 characters of data crammed into that 5-character space. Also, notice how low the data integrity is for this paper checklist and how little traceability it offers. Sure, there are boxes to enter the operator's name, shift number, date the form was completed, and time the form was completed, but how do we know that data wasn't entered incorrectly or fudged on purpose? And how do we verify its validity? Lastly, notice how labor-intensive the paper checklist is for the operator in terms of the amount of data that they must manually enter and in terms of how long entering that data could take to enter by hand. Now, let's take a look at the electronic checklist from Digital Clipboard in the image on the right side of the screen. Notice how much more intuitive and easy to use the electronic checklists are for the operator as compared to paper. Instead of manually typing or writing in data, the operator can simply and quickly choose preloaded answers from drop-down menus to enter data for many of the questions, saving them time and effort. Even better still, the operator can also scan barcodes to automatically populate data for even faster and even easier data entry. For example, Instead of selecting choices from a drop-down menu for operator name, shift number, shift manager, batch number, or production line number, the operator could scan the barcodes on their employee ID badge and on their parts to automatically populate all of these fields with minimal effort and minimal wasted time. And the best part is that all of this data is protected from human influence while also offering a high level of traceability. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard is highly customizable and adaptable to meet specific individual customer preferences and needs, which means that it can virtually be used for almost any checklist or almost any audit at almost any company in almost any industry. Digital Clipboard could be used just as easily for sensory inspections in the food and beverage industry as it could be for torque inspections in the automotive industry. It can be tailored to meet the needs of home appliance manufacturers doing final assembly defect logs just as easily as it could be tailored to fit the needs of aerospace manufacturers doing equipment maintenance logs. It truly is a product for everyone. There truly are no limits for the types of workflows and applications that Digital Clipboard can perform. It could be used in automotive for yard audits, any type of vehicle inspections, teardown audits, layered process audits, and more. It could be used in supply chain and logistics for things like incoming inspection checklists, dock audits, transportation checks, and more. It could be used in environmental health and safety for any industry for things like safety walk checklists, safety inspection lists, and more. In today's challenging manufacturing environment, many corporate management teams are asking their employees to choose and implement tools that allow them to do more with less tools that provide multifunctionality. This is what Digital Clipboard offers those companies. It is a multi-function tool that can be used in any industry, at any company, in almost any department that does workflows, audits, or checklists. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard is a powerful workflow tool that allows companies to create advanced workflows. The bullet points listed on the left and the graphics shown on the right both illustrate how Digital Clipboard can be used to create advanced workflows following a very logistical process path that includes features like assigning specific steps to specific users or specific user roles, filling forms, assigning tasks, using decision trees, sending emails, and creating PDF or Excel documents. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard can be used to create and perform multiple workflows within multiple applications. The screenshot to the immediate right illustrates some of the possible applications that Digital Clipboard could be used for, including quality assurance applications, electrical systems applications, drivetrain applications, chassis applications, battery applications, body and white applications, and more. The screenshot to the far right illustrates how clicking on any one of these applications can then allow operators to deep dive into specific workflows for those specific applications. For example, clicking on the chassis application may take you to a rear suspension installation audit, or checking on the battery application may take you to a charging system audit, or clicking on the electrical application may take you to an air conditioning systems audit. The point being that Digital Clipboard allows you to create multiple workflows within multiple applications for a logical, structured approach to doing workflows. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard simply improves your data integrity. Digital Clipboard's multiple options for automated data entry, like pick lists and barcode or QR code scanning to populate data, remove as much human influence over your collected data as possible, which in turn increases your data integrity. The screenshots to the right illustrate how this works and looks in Digital Clipboard. For example, every question in these two screenshots can be answered and populated by using either a pick list or a barcode scan, saving the operator time and effort, but more importantly, ensuring the most accurate data possible with little to no ambiguity or confusion for management. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard also improves your traceability. Digital Clipboard's options for operator badge scanning and for optional electronic signature requirement ensures that your organization can accurately trace and verify that a workflow was indeed completed, by who it was completed, when it was completed, how it was completed, and why certain answers were selected, which in turn increases your traceability. But it gets even better, because your operators can use the camera on their mobile device to also take supporting photos related to collected data to provide even more additional information or validation to the answers that they've given in your workflows. Furthermore, once a picture is taken, your operator can zoom, pan, rotate, and even annotate that picture to provide you with the best views of an issue possible, along with personal observations and supporting information. The screenshot to the immediate right illustrates how an operator can not only capture and annotate a picture of a possible defect, but how they can also assign a root cause and a corrective action for that defect. The screenshot to the far right shows how Digital Clipboard can be used to require a final validation of workflow completion by required operator electronic signature before the operator is allowed to upload it to the centralized database, thus ensuring a high degree of traceability for your organization. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard also helps to ensure the accuracy of your data by allowing you to add work instruction aids to your workflows. Almost any type of work instruction can be added to your workflows in Digital Clipboard. For example, work instructions for pre-audit required tool checklists can be added to aid operators in determining whether they have all the required tools needed to begin their audit. These tool checklist work instructions can be in the form of actual written lists or in the form of sample tool pictures, or both. These visual aids can be added to the workflow at any appropriate step during the workflow where this kind of tool verification is required. Work instructions in Digital Clipboard can be extremely detailed, and they can utilize high-definition images and rich text format. Work instructions in Digital Clipboard are also highly intuitive, which means that it's easy to learn and easy to use, which in turn can minimize the amount of operator training required to use Digital Clipboard. These intuitive work instructions also help to enforce consistency among operators across the organization. The screenshot to the immediate right illustrates how a sample work instruction for brewing coffee with a coffee maker might look like, while the screenshot to the far right shows how a sample required tool checklist might look for the required items needed to brew coffee with the coffee maker. Notice that both examples use rich text format and high definition images. Next slide, please. Unlike traditional paper checklists, Digital Clipboard is not static and is dynamic in nature. Digital Clipboard can provide your operators with real-time feedback on the data that they are collecting and entering into the checklist. Digital Clipboard can immediately alert your operator in real time when entered data has violated spec limits or if it has failed certain standard requirements. Furthermore, Digital Clipboard can also then prompt your operator to answer additional follow-up questions that are required by your organization when a non-conforming answer is recorded. When used with the DATAMYTE Revolution data collector, Digital Clipboard can also generate automatic email alerts or alarms for out-of-spec readings. And if also used with DATAMYTE's Escalate software, Digital Clipboard can also take those emails, alerts, or alarms to the next level by escalating them up a predetermined organizational escalation chain until someone responds to those alerts. These alerts and escalations can also be used for out-of-spec gauges or metrology device data collection as well. The screenshot to the right illustrates how an operator can see the upper spec limit, the lower spec limit, and the nominal for a particular data inspection point. They also show how the operator can then see immediately whether the data that they have entered conforms with or violates those spec limits. Next slide, please. Digital Clipboard also offers many other capabilities briefly touched on or not mentioned yet in the previous slides, including photo, video, and audio recording capabilities to capture not only still pictures, but video and audio data as well. RFID reader capability. In addition to the barcode and QR code scanning capabilities already mentioned, for allowing you to capture data stored on RFID tags. Document creation and document linking to allow you to not only create documents, but to also add links to existing documents with key information into your workflow to aid operators in making correct answer selections. Electronic signature capture to aid in your traceability efforts. And even multi-language capability for customers with a global presence. And now I'll turn the presentation back over to Melissa for our next audience polling question.
Thanks, Jim. Great job walking through that digital clipboard, all the capabilities there. This is our last polling question. Does your company have a formal escalation process to address out of spec or non-conforming products? Launch the poll. Give you a few seconds to vote. And we'll close the poll and share the results. So it looks like about half of people in attendance have a formal process in place and it's followed. 30% have a formal process, but it's not often followed. 17% do not have a formal process and 3% are not sure. Thank you once again for voting, and I will turn it back over to Jerry Zeiglin.
Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate that. And those polls are always quite interesting, I think, as I look at the results. When I talk about employee morale, I think it means a lot of things to a lot of different people, but really I think one of the things that's key, and we were talking about processes and workflows an awful lot today, and giving employees the tools to react to information faster and provide a different set of eyes on problems because they're the closest to it is a very effective way of helping you control quality costs. So a lot of times focusing on the things that the quality folks know on the floor is key to improving processes. Next, please. As I look at this slide, there's a lot of information on here. I'm going to focus on just several points. And at some point, if there's information on this slide you'd like to know more about, we can definitely dig into that at a different time. I'm going to first talk a little bit about the database. Again, as you notice, this is in the middle of the slide, and it's a critical component of our system. And really, when you're collecting data, we've talked again about workflow and the digital checklist today, and that data is also coming in through our data collection systems. We've got fixed station, PC-based solutions. We got the Revolution. Now we've got the digital checklist, and we have universal connectivity to gauges. All that information is collected in a system that provides feedback to the individual using the tool. And a lot of times those feedbacks are alarm and different out of spec conditions. We can collect variable data we've talked about and attribute data, so it's alarming, but it's feeding to this individual collecting the data. As that data is fed into the database, we now have the conditions that have been, alarm conditions that have been posted are looked at through the event monitor or for the event system. The event system communicates with the Escalate system. The Escalate system is really key in being able to look at a large amount of data across your factory floor and react to that data, and really with less folks looking at the information, we can provide even higher degree of traceability to the issues that you're having on the manufacturing floor. Once the issues are escalated, we have various ways of notifying folks that there are problems on the floor and escalating that to the correct person. So basically there's other pieces in this architecture here which make up the DATAMYTE technology stack, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it, but I just wanted to touch basically on some of the key points, which is data collection, database, events, and escalation of issues. Next, please. So when you look at this, I know what I see, but I've looked at it before, and I'm just wondering, you could probably figure out what's going on here. This is the dashboard that is presented to you as you collect information on the manufacturing floor. So this can be broken down into product lines, different areas within your plant, different manufacturing areas, but basically with one report, we can look and see when data was collected, if something's in spec, if something's out of spec. And we can also, at that point, if you come up and you double click on some of these red boxes on the screen, you'll actually be able to dive down into the data and look at the data and do some analysis on the data. So a lot of the problems we've had today talk about being able to react to information. So this particular report is very simple, but there's a lot of things going on here that help you manage your business. You know when the last good point was collected, meaning the last data point that was in spec, and you know when the next data point was collected, so you have a feel for how much time is in between the good inspection point and the bad inspection point to help you control any spills or rework within your organization. So very, very powerful tool. Next, please. When we set up escalations, there's some configuration, ahead of implementing the system, which we help you with. We have a conversation about how your operators fit into which groups, which manufacturing lines, which quality engineers, which manufacturing managers, who needs to be in different groups, and what problems do they need to be alerted to. We want to make sure that when setting this up, that you're reacting to the key critical characteristics, key dimensions on your manufacturing floor, the ones that, if they're out of spec, you're in trouble. If they're running high, running low, you're in trouble. So those are the things we want to focus on. And that's part of this whole configuration and how we set this system up from the beginning. It's configurable to any industry. It can alarm and escalate from, if you're in a food plant, escalating on net weight, net content. You're in an automotive plant, you're looking at CPKs and different capabilities. If you're in other industries, we can look on that. We can also alarm on attribute data as it goes out of spec and different visual inspections. So really anything that would trigger alarm in our data metric system goes up through the database, up to the events, and up into escalation. If you look over on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see that this is an example email, and it's got the company name, so you can customize that for your organization. It's got event details. So if you look down through here, there's going to be details about the event. There's going to be data that's associated with the event, and there's going to be, you can have a picture if you choose to use that capability in the system as well. Escalations can be sent via email. They can also be sent via text messages. So the key is, you can get this information almost anywhere you're at in the plant or outside of the plant, as long as you have access to, to your information within this in your company system. Next, please. This is really one of the last slides that talk about any kind of the detail of the system. Again, this is our web reporting portal. This portal will allow you to view various reports, but it's all web-based. The escalation report can have the same information I talked about in the previous slide, but a little more detail. It's got the event detail, the escalation detail, the response detail, who's responsible, was it, has it expired? So if you've got an escalation that's escalated to a certain level, and you set those levels in the configuration, and if it gets to a certain amount of time, it's going to escalate it up past the individual that it sent it to first. And so what you're going to do if you're sending an escalation up the chain of command, you're going to be able to configure how long it takes before it's escalated to the next level, and you're also going to put severity as part of that that configuration. So you've got the escalation report here. We've got the control chart and histogram and different statistical reports that you can access via your web browser, and we've got also the ability to look at variable data and information. So there's, this is just a sampling of the reports. So there's more reports within the tool, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what we offer in the reporting tool. Next, please. In summary, workflows and other areas within your organization where you're experiencing issues, we feel with the digital clipboard, we've really come out with a product that can help in a lot of areas where people have, kind of had data that was hidden. So it's going to allow you to, dig deeper into your data. Hopefully this can help you look at your warranties different. It can help you look at your recalls, labor, production, waste, scrap, those kind of things. But really the traceability that you can offer by implementing the digital clipboard in various applications within your facility is really, it's up to the, really just looking at the kind of systems you have today and how you're doing and applying the digital clipboard to those. The other side of this is the system is very scalable. In current customers, they can bolt some of this onto their existing system, but you can also start out very small with a small system and build it into a plant-wide, multi-plant or global environment. So it's scalable for all of our small to medium to large customers. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time today. We have one more closing slide, and then we'll take some questions from the field. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. So anyway, it's easy to get started on digital clipboard. We would love to have the opportunity to take one of your checklists and show it to you, do a demo for you and your team, and so you can take a look at that. So if you are interested in having us kind of automate and create a workflow out of a checklist that you have, you can go to our website on the products digital clipboard page, and there is a place where you can submit a button where you can submit this to us. And so we would love to be able to demo that and show that to you. And at this point, we will take some questions, and we have had some questions come. So so the first question is, can I incorporate other gauges into this process? Maybe Jim?
I can handle that one, Melissa. Yep. So the answer to that question is yes. You can, in addition to being able to take attribute data by hand, you can also incorporate a variable data with digital hand gauges like calipers, gap and flush probes, surface check probes, dial indicators, even scales. and as well as our DATAMYTE torque wrenches for taking torque data. So the answer is yes, you can collect variable data with your devices as well as attribute data with the digital clipboard.
Thanks, Jim. There is a gauging question that just came in. How do I know which gauges are compatible with this system?
As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, Melissa, we connect with over 5,600 different gauges out there in the market from just about every single gauge manufacturer out there. A simpler question would be to ask which ones don't we connect with? But basically, the only possible problem you might have is if your gauges are analog. But as long as they're digital, we should be able to connect to pretty much anything with either a cabled connection or a wireless connection. And if you're concerned or have a question about that, you can contact your DATAMYTE sales rep and give us the make and model number of the gauge that you have. And we can look that up in our system and verify very simply and easily and quickly whether that gauge will work. So contact your sales rep on that.
Perfect. Can digital clipboard be used on previous collectors, the 600 model, or only on the Revolution? Does Jerry want to address that one?
I can take that one, sure. The two systems can live in the same environment, meaning you can run them both side by side, but the Revolution is the only product that you can run the digital clipboard on. It's just a newer, the 600 just doesn't have the horsepower to run it, but the horsepower is still, there's plenty of use for the 600, and yet, again, you can have them both coexist within the same system. And as you move forward, then you can introduce a Revolution as you to meet your requirements.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Can I use Escalate with digital clipboard with my DATAMetrics system? Jim?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yes, Escalate is designed to work both with our Revolution mobile data collector solution as well as with our DATAMetrics fixed station solution. So you can use Escalate to both escalate alarms and notifications in DATAMetrics, your fixed station solution, and you can also use it for the enhanced reporting that also comes with Escalate. So no problem at all if you're a DATAMetrics fixed station user.
Okay. We have a couple questions that have come in about, can the digital checklist be used on mobile devices or mobile platform, tablet, phone, etc.?
Yeah, I can take that one too. Yes, digital clipboard will run on not only the Revolution, but it will run on other mobile devices like tablets, laptops, and phones. There might be certain things you can't do, like collecting that variable data. In order to interface with a gauge or a hand gauge or a torque wrench, you're probably going to need a data collector for that. But if you're not grabbing that variable data, you can use it with other devices.
All right, great, thank you. I've got a lot of questions coming in, so I'm trying to rifle through these quick. Do digital clipboards work when not connected to a network or internet? In other words, can a service tech be on the road, fill out checklists, and then synchronize when they come back? We're able to have internet access.
I could take that one, yes, and the answer to that's yes. We have data caching on the system. So if you don't have network connectivity, you can still create a checklist, collect the information, get results, and then when you get back to the office, you could upload that information.
Yeah, and Jerry, I'd also like to add that that also applies to, say, Wi-Fi dead spots in a plant. So if you're taking a checklist in a plant where you have a dead spot with your Wi-Fi, it will cache it on your device, and then as soon as that operator walks to a different area of the plant where Wi-Fi service is better, you can then upload that data.
Perfect. Can we connect to our torque measurement gauge? Jim?
Jerry, you want to handle that one?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically, within the digital clipboard, you can be collecting information, but you can also collect information with all the gauges that you're using it. You know, if you're doing torque checks or other kind of applications, you can definitely use it with those within the same. Really, the digital clipboard and the Revolution, where it collects the gauging information, those two are tied tightly together.
All right, thank you. Jerry? I have all the data metric software, DC Pro, DAR, DSE. Is Escalate an additional cost on top of that?
I can take that one, Melissa. Yeah, and the answer is yes. It is an additional cost, and depends on how it's implemented, what that cost would be. So there's a couple factors that play there. But if you've got the infrastructure, it really kind of sits on top of the database and monitors the database. So it's again, you really are just expanding your current use of your system. And there's no, it was designed to work. It was designed to really work across all of our products and be a single point for escalation and for alarming.
Yeah. So if I could add to that, Escalate is another plugin module for data metrics, much like DAR is a plugin module, or report scheduler, or web reports are plugin modules. It's a module that plugs into data metrics.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification on that. If we have 600 data collector, can we still can we use those with the Revolution for the digital clipboard? Jerry?
And the answer is that the 600 cannot run the digital clipboard. It has to be run on a Revolution or another device, but you can run those two products using the data metrics architecture and the data metrics system. So you could be using your 600s for one application and Revolutions for another, but they would all communicate to the same database, so it would be a seamless integration.
Perfect. We have a bunch of other questions that are a little bit more technical or specific in nature. So I'm going to pass those questions along to a solution expert. And so if we didn't address your question specifically, we will reach out and connect with you and provide that information. So at this time, I'd like to conclude our webinar today, and I'd like to thank Jim and Jerry for their great presentations and telling us all the great values about digital clipboard and others related products. And we really look forward to helping you revolutionize your paper processes and automate those workflows. So reach out to us via, send us a checklist, and let's start some conversations and automate those workflows. Thanks, and have a great rest of the day.